Welcome to Glastek Glazing Contractor's new worker orientation. Glastek's policy is to perform work in the safest manner possible, consistent with good construction practices and procedures. The conditions and regulations of the Workers' Compensation Act, OHSA, and any other provincial or municipal statutes that may apply, shall be adhered to completely. Safety is our first priority, is our motto. Safety as a choice is the behavior demonstrated by our employees each day. It's in how they work, it's in what precautions they take when performing tasks, and it's constantly there in their level of awareness to surrounding factors that may jeopardize their well-being. Safety is a condition of employment and is non-negotiable. We see employees as the solution by recognizing their skills, knowledge, and experience. We ask the employee who actually performs the work how things should be done. Each of our employees is expected to use a common-sense approach to their job, thus reducing the possibility of injuries to themselves and others. The prevention of all injuries or harm to employees is a core company value. The organization strives to be better and find better hazard control approaches. All employees share the belief that health and safety is a critical aspect of their job. These regulations are for your protection and the protection of your coworkers. We want you to be safe, our company to know you are safe, and none of us to be sorry. Management responsibility is to know, understand, and enforce the company's safety policy, provide safe equipment, materials, and conditions of work, provide proper training to all employees, investigate all accidents and determine the cause of accidents, determine methods of eliminating causes and determine the validity of the claim. Management is also responsible for updating their health and safety policy and providing first aid training from an approved provider. Supervisor's responsibilities. It is the responsibility. Enforce company policy with respect to proper clothing and proper protection for the worker. Know, understand, and enforce the company's safety policy. Ensure that all new employees are instructed in the requirements of our safety policy. Rectify all unsafe conditions or practices. Arrange for first aid and medical treatment when required. Supervisors must also inspect and reject all unsafe equipment or materials. Hold regular toolbox talks on accident prevention. Provide transportation to the doctor or hospital if required. Fully investigate and report every accident and injury. If your job involves using equipment, your supervisor/foreman must provide you with instructions and directions on how to use the equipment safely. The minimum training for construction workers is Workplace Hazardous Material Information System and working at heights. If you are not trained in something else, propane, forklift, hoist, etc., don't do it. A worker's responsibility consists of work in compliance with the Occupational Health and Safety Act and its regulations and report any contraventions to the Act or regulations. Work in compliance with the governing corporate health and safety policy. Wear and use any personal protective equipment/clothing that is required for their health and safety. Report any hazardous conditions or unsafe practices immediately to their supervisor, including the absence of, or defect, in any equipment or protective device. Health and safety recommendation forms are available in the site safety binder. No name is required if you wish to remain anonymous. A worker's responsibility also consists of operate any machine, equipment, device, or work in a manner that will not endanger his/herself or other workers. Report any accidents/incidents, regardless of their severity, to their supervisor without delay. Not remove or make any protective device required by the regulations or the employer without providing an adequate temporary protective device. When the need for removing or making ineffective the protective device has ceased, the protective device shall be replaced immediately. Do not engage in any prank, contest and feat of strength, unnecessary running or rough, boisterous conduct. Finally, a worker, shall exercise their right to know and undertake the precautions to be taken when working with hazardous materials in the workplace by reviewing the SDS for the particular material in question and following the instructions outlined in addition to any further measures for his/her protection. Obtain first aid promptly and notify their supervisor of any first aid situation that becomes a medical aid condition so the proper authorities can be notified. Finally, a worker shall exercise their right to know and undertake the precautions to be taken when working with hazardous materials in the workplace by reviewing the SDS for the particular material in question and following the instructions outlined in addition to any further measures for his/her protection. Obtain first aid promptly and notify their supervisor of any first aid situation that becomes a medical aid condition so the proper authorities can be notified. Workplace violence and harassment. Managers must report any incidents of workplace violence or threats of violence that they become aware of. Managers should take immediate action to respond to any imminent threat of violence. This may include calling the police and/or security and instructing employees to leave the premises immediately. Workers should report their concerns to their employer if they fear domestic violence may enter the workplace. No report of workplace violence or risk or threat of workplace violence shall result in reprisal against the reporting employee so long as it is made in good faith and the employee cooperates fully and truthfully during the investigation. All reported incidents of workplace violence, incidents, complaints or threats of workplace violence will be investigated by management. Management will investigate and deal with domestic violence concerns on a case-by-case basis. All employees are required to cooperate with such investigations and to provide all relevant information truthfully in regard to the incident under investigation. Employees alleged to have committed acts or threats of workplace violence may be suspended with/without pay, pending the investigation, depending on the severity of the alleged incident. Glasstec has zero tolerance for violence or threats of violence. Discipline for incidents of workplace violence, or threats etc., may include warnings, suspension, demotion and termination for cause, depending on the circumstances. Glasstec may also respond to incidents or threats of workplace violence in many other ways that could include but may not be limited to removing identified risk factors, employee training, reassignment of duties and/or work location, as well as requiring employees to take a leave of absence or to obtain counseling. Workplace violence is defined by law as an attempt to exercise physical force against a worker in a workplace that could cause physical injury to a worker, a statement or behavior that it is reasonable for a worker to interpret as a threat to exercise physical force against the worker in a workplace that could cause physical injury to the worker. The risk or occurrence of workplace violence undermines the ability of our employees to work effectively and impacts company morale and quality of life. Any incident of workplace violence against any employee is unacceptable. Workplace harassment is defined as course of vexatious, causing annoyance, comment or conduct against a worker in a workplace that is known or ought reasonably to be known to be unwelcome. The BC Human Rights Code also prohibits harassment because of race, ancestry, place of origin, color, ethnic origin, citizenship, creed, age, a provincial record of offenses, marital status, family status, physical or mental disability, sexual orientation, religion, or political belief. Employees and agents must report all incidents of violence or threats of workplace violence that they experience. Reports may be made verbally or in writing. Forms are available from any of those, as mentioned earlier. If the employer or supervisor is the alleged harasser, incidents and complaints of workplace harassment should be made to Linda Hackett, 60430844984. Worker rights. Glasstec Glazing Contractors Limited is committed to identifying and removing or controlling workplace hazards. BC's Workers' Compensation Act and its regulations, the JHSC, Workplace Hazardous Information System/Globally Harmonized System, Workplace Violence and Harassment Policies as well as client site-specific requirements, are all considered during the job planning process. The hazard reporting system is an employee-oriented process. Employees are in the best position to identify the hazards in their workplace because they are the ones who perform the work. Employees act as a second set of eyes for supervisors. All employees are involved in the hazard reporting system and ensuring controls are in place. The best way to eliminate a hazard is to remove it. When a hazard cannot be eliminated, proper PPE and preventive measures or controls must be put in place and reviewed with the workers involved. You have the right to know what hazards are present in the workplace and be given the information, training and supervision to do your work safely. Right to participate in keeping your workplace healthy and safe and reporting unsafe conditions and practices. Participate in the JHSC and IRS internal responsibility system. Right to refuse unsafe work that you believe to be dangerous to yourself or your coworkers without reprisal. Workplace safety hazard communication. Weekly safety talks, to be completed weekly by your foreman, so speak up if you have a concern. Everyone's input is important. Daily JHAs, job hazard assessment, specific to work performed that day and must be completed before the start of the shift by your foreman. If the scope of work changes throughout the day, including whether that may affect job procedures, the JHA must be updated and reviewed with the workers involved. Early and safe return to work policy. Early and safe return to work policy. It is the policy of Bothwell Accurate Company, Inc. to accommodate a worker that is temporarily disabled as a result of an accident that arose in the course of employment. Our objective is to return and rehabilitate the worker to their maximum ability level, enabling them to effectively and efficiently perform the assigned job tasks. Bothwell Accurate Company, Inc. will uphold its responsibility for keeping the WSIB or WorkSafe BC informed of the availability of modified work, the worker's progress during the return to work, and the rehabilitation process. The worker is responsible for fully cooperating with the return-to-work process and ensuring that the employer provides such medical and functional abilities information to assist in a successful and safe return to work. Any vacation time taken while working modified duties will result in a loss of wages for the time missed. This modified work plan may include altered or reduced work hours, changes to the worker's shift, modifications to the regular job duties, alterations to rest periods or exercise breaks, temporary reassignment to a different job, matching the worker's functional abilities to a totally different job. Both the worker and the employer have a responsibility to cooperate in an early and safe return to work plan. These responsibilities are: the worker shall contact the accident employer during the recovery period. Contact must occur weekly or as soon as the worker is fit to return to work. Assist in the collection of job descriptions, task analysis, provide such medical information as the employer requires for an early and safe return to work. Participate in the early and safe return to work plan and immediately report any task difficulties. Ensure that ongoing treatment does not interfere with the early and safe return to work plan. Work within the established company rules, procedures, and the early and safe return to work plan. The Joint Health and Safety Committee is part of the internal responsibility system and is in place for your protection. Don't be afraid to use them. There are 3 management and 3 worker representatives. The names of the committee members are posted on the safety bulletin boards in the shop/office and on job sites and listed on site docs. Talk to your Joint Health and Safety Committee rep if you have any concerns or suggestions so the committee member can bring up concerns in the meeting. The committee is in place to improve safety for all workers. Any suggestions brought forth through the Joint Health and Safety Committee are reviewed at the meetings, and there can be no retribution for suggestions or complaints. Any company or employee can be fined by the MOL for preventing anyone from exercising their rights and duties as spelled out in the Workers' Compensation Act and regulations. The following are functions of the Joint Health and Safety Committee. Identify situations that may be a source of danger or hazard to workers. Make recommendations to the constructor or employer and the workers for the improvement of the health and safety of workers. Recommend to the constructor or employer and the workers the establishment, maintenance, and monitoring of programs, measures and procedures respecting the health or safety of workers. The functions of the Joint Health and Safety Committee also include: obtain information from the constructor or employer respecting the identification of potential or existing hazards of materials, processes, or equipment. Obtain information from the constructor or employer concerning the conducting or taking of tests of any equipment, machine, device, article, thing, material or biological, chemical or physical agent in or about a workplace for the purpose of occupational health and safety. Emergency response procedures. Emergency response procedures are as follows: take command. Assign duties to specific personnel. Call 911, get help, stay with injured person. Provide protection to the accident scene from continuing or further hazards. Give first aid as soon as possible. Call an ambulance. Meet and direct the ambulance to the accident scene. Get the name of the hospital for follow-up. Advise management so they can start the investigation/reporting procedures. Isolate the accident scene. Make sure nothing is changed/moved until authorities have completed their investigation. Know where the closest exit is, know where the evacuation point is, and know where emergency contact numbers are. Site evacuation procedures. In the case of an emergency that requires site evacuation, the site supervisor is to start an evacuation. If this situation occurs, employees are to do the following. The supervisor signals the crew of emergency. Emergency whistle, the crew stops working. Crew shuts off any equipment and tools that they are using. The crew leaves the site by the nearest exit and assembles at the emergency meeting point. Once assembled, the site supervisor is to perform a head count to ensure that all personnel have. Site emergencies include workplace violence, hazardous spills, vehicle accidents, scaffold collapse, fires, explosions, critical injuries or fatalities, gas/propane leaks, floods/cave-ins, equipment accidents, electrical hazards, power line contact, aircraft failures. First aiders' names are posted by the first aid kits or in the job site binder. The site emergency procedures should also include: if an employee is missing from the head count, emergency response personnel are to be notified immediately. Trained first aid personnel will attend to all injured employees while waiting for emergency services and notify management. Site emergencies include workplace violence, hazardous spills, vehicle accidents, scaffold collapse, fires, explosions, critical injuries or fatalities, gas/propane leaks, flood/cave-ins, equipment accidents, electrical hazard, aircraft failure. First aiders' names are posted by the first aid kits or in the job site binder. GlassTech is committed to building sustainable infrastructure and practicing environmentally conscious behavior, which protects the environment for current and future generations. Out of a sense of responsibility for the safety of the environment, all employees will comply with all applicable environmental legislation, environmental statutes, and regulations. All employees must adhere to our sustainability standards and be mindful of their consumption habits. As GlassTech is involved with handling new and waste material, there is the potential for our employees to have an impact on the environment. When disposing of materials, to reduce the potential for contamination of land and/or groundwater, proper recycling and waste management shall be followed at all times. Sheet metal and waste oil from all sites shall be returned to the GlassTech yard for proper disposal and recycling. Where garbage cannot be separated on-site, mixed containers of garbage and recyclable materials will be sorted in the yard before final disposal. Environmental spill response should include: evaluate the spill situation, hazard level, quantities, chemical reaction, etc. Evaluate the need for personal protection, hazmat suits, respirators, gloves, face shield. Block any floor drain with a neoprene drain cover or surround it with absorbent socks. Confine the spill area one with absorbent sock and absorbent booms. Absorb confined area with absorbent mats and / or granular absorbent. Environmental spill response should also include the following. Package and dispose of used material in an approved container to transport hazardous materials. Report any spills to your GlassTech supervisor so the proper authorities can be notified when necessary. Propane filling station awareness. When filling propane, the following must be followed, non-applicable to GlassTech. Be aware of when the propane filling station is in use. Only trained/authorized employees are to use the filling station. There is no smoking allowed within 25 feet of the filling station. There is no idling of motorized vehicles allowed within 10 feet of the filling station. Be aware of static electricity discharges around the filling station. Emergency shutoff on the northeast corner of the warehouse. In case of an emergency, evacuate the area/meet at the muster. Personal protective equipment requirements. Basic personal protective equipment consists of CSA-approved hard hat, CSA-approved steel-toed safety boots with a minimum 6-inch shaft, CSA eye protection, safety glasses, long pants and t-shirts with min 4-inch sleeves. Hearing and respiratory protection will be employed where a hazard to the ears or respiratory tract exists. Gloves selected to protect workers' hands from the hazards inherent in the task being performed must be worn. High-vis safety vest for work on job sites or in the yard. The following is a list of activities that require personal protective equipment. Aerial work platforms, safety glasses / full body harness / lanyard with shock absorber asbestos-containing products, half mask respirator, fit testing REQt / disposable overalls band saw, safety glasses / face shield bench / surface grinders, safety glasses / face shield biological agents half mask, respirators / disposable overalls / gloves / boot covers. Chemical storage and handling, safety glasses / safety goggles / face shield / gloves, neoprene, nitrile, rubber / half mask respirator, if REQt, or disposable dust / particulate mask. Compressed air, safety glasses / safety gloves as required. Dust / working with materials that create dust / debris, safety glasses / dust / particulate mask electrical hazards, safety glasses / hearing protection / long sleeve 100% cotton shirt / leather or rubber gloves. Powder actuated tools, safety glasses / face shield / hearing protection. Forklifts, changing propane cylinders, insulated gloves / safety glasses, grinders / cutoff saws, face shields / safety glasses. Lead, half mask respirator, fit testing required, / disposable coveralls / safety glasses. Metal shops, safety glasses, hearing protection and gloves are required. Material handling / yard, safety glasses / high visibility vest / appropriate gloves. Noise exposure, over 85 dB earplugs / earmuffs. Silica, protective clothing / half mask respirator with P100 respirator for concrete, silica, dust, fit testing required. Hilti drills or other types of drills must be used with HEPA vacuum attachment. Table saw, safety glasses / full face shield / hearing protection. Trucks / heavy equipment backing up, safety glasses / high visibility reflective vests / hard hats when visiting sites. Welding torching, respirators / cutting goggles / protective clothing. Do not weld any part of the body uncovered. Working at heights, full body harness / lanyards with shock absorber and or lifeline with rope grab. Specialized personal protective equipment, such as full body harnesses, respirators, reflective vests, flotation vests, ear protection devices, etc., must be worn when required by the Workers' Compensation Act or its regulations and your foreman. All workers must inspect their PPE before use as per manufacturer's or legislated requirements. UV radiation, long sleeves / sunscreen. The following are Glasstec Glazing Contractors Limited Company rules, and failure to follow may result in progressive discipline. A 4-phase disciplinary system will be exercised for all contraventions to our policy rulings or the Workers' Compensation Act. Absenteeism: if an employee cannot attend work in the morning, they must notify their supervisor before the start of their shift. A phone call or text is acceptable. The following disciplinary action will be taken if an employee fails to notify their supervisor unless the failure to notify was the result of circumstances beyond the employee's control. In such cases, an employee must notify the supervisor ASAP and, where requested, provide evidence to substantiate the inability to notify. If disciplinary action is needed, the following measures will be applied by the site foreman or supervisor. A recorded verbal warning to the worker for the first violation. A second violation will be given as a written warning. If that is not successful, the third violation will be issued as a written warning and suspension will be given to the employee. Finally, if the worker continues to be an issue in the workplace, the fourth violation will result in the termination of his employment. Insubordination consists of: employees are required to obey company directives issued by their supervisor, foreman, or manager. A refusal to obey a supervisor's order or a lack of respect directed toward that supervisor will subject that employee to the company's progressive step discipline program. Insubordination may include but is not limited to: willful neglect of duties, improper work practices or procedures, PPE infractions, driving infractions, improper use of equipment, theft, gross negligence, code of conduct violations, lack of reasonable production. Finally, insubordination consists of: when an employee willfully disobeys or disregards a superior's legitimate directive. Abusive language/racism by employees toward supervisors and others may also be considered insubordination. Being under the influence of alcohol or drugs, including cannabis and cannabis-related products, and/or the negative effects of medications or any other substance that could cause impairment at work. Communication devices. Talking on cell phones and texting at work is distracting and often minimizes productivity if communication isn't work-related. It can also increase the risk of accidents. This policy applies to workers, contractors, consultants, temporary workers, and other workers at the company. Limiting cell phones and other communication devices at work is to protect you. Inappropriate use of communication devices at work can cause injuries because it's distracting and may interfere with the proper and safe use of equipment and machinery. This policy also consists of the following. Communication devices covered include smartphones, tablets, and other wireless devices. The rules set out in this policy apply to all work-related activities, including but not limited to driving to and from work and conducting job-related activities. Prohibited uses. While in the workplace during work hours, workers are expected to focus on work and may not use any communication device in the workplace for any inappropriate purpose, including but not limited to engaging in personal conversations, playing games, surfing the internet, checking email, sending or receiving text messages, operating equipment or a vehicle. Permitted uses consist of: workers may use communication devices on break or in cases of emergency. Workers who violate this policy will be subject to the disciplinary measures. Equipment maintenance. Due to the nature of our projects and the contractual relationship with our clients, there are, at times, major items of capital equipment owned and maintained by Glasstec Glazing Contractors Limited on our work sites. Equipment maintenance consists of the following. All tools and equipment shall be maintained and operated by competent workers. Pre-use inspections must be performed before operating powered mobile equipment. All vehicles, machines, tools and equipment shall be used following any operating manuals issued by the manufacturer. Equipment maintenance also includes All electrical tools and equipment shall be protected by ground fault interruption devices. Defective and unserviceable equipment shall be tagged for repair, replacement and removed off-site until repaired or replaced to the satisfaction of the project superintendent or his competent replacement. This concludes the Glasdeck Glazing Contractor's new worker orientation. Further instructions will be provided to you by the Health and Safety Department, connecting you to your foreman and supervisor and providing information regarding your first day on site and job location. Have a safe day.